and then spirituality. And when we talking about narrowing down focus, my dad was a Baptist minister. Now, my dad was more open-minded than most ministers, I think, is that I think because he was a Mason, I think he understood spirituality more than religion. And you have to think about religion. Religion really wants you to narrow down your focus, whatever your religion is. Most religions do not. I'll just talk about Christianity. That's what I know. I was really taught not to look at any other religions, that this is the only one. And that always, I don't know, I just couldn't understand that. I couldn't understand how these people with other religions, and then just thinking about how people lived thousands and thousands of years ago before there was Christianity. What happened? Well, they were spiritually connected. And when I took this longevity course so that I could try and teach longevity, it said that spirituality, people who lived longer, they had some type of spiritual connection. It didn't say they were a part of some type of religious organization. It just said that they had a spiritual connection. And you have to make sure, I don't care what religion you are, is make sure that you have a connection. I always thought you're supposed to have a personal relationship with God. And I never really understood that until now. And now through meditation mostly, it has allowed me to reconnect spiritually. And I just want people, I'm not anti-religion. I'm not. I was raised by a Baptist minister and a Christian family or whatever, but I had to expand. Now that I've looked at other information, I'm not narrowing down my focus. It expanded my idea of spirituality. And for me, it's been life-changing, is that more scientifically, I can understand spirituality by understanding energy and again, I don't want to get too deep. Let's just keep going. Let's keep going. All right. So energy complaints. So I'll tell you that 9 times out of 10, these are the symptoms that patients come in. They talk about them always being tired. They talk about brain fog, weight gain, low libido, mood swings, and they all say their labs are normal. And I've talked about this in some previous podcasts, is that we are taught in medical school to identify and treat diseases based on lab values that are 2 standard deviations from the norm. And I hated math too, but I had to go. I had to take statistics. So what that means is you take an average of people, and then you look at the mean, the middle point, and then you do 2 standard deviations from the mean. And if you're outside of that, if you're in this 2.5% here or 2.5% here, high or low, then you have a disease. Okay. So you got to think about that. I have to be in the bottom or the top 2.5% of people for most doctors to classify me with a disease. So always being tired is not really a disease. They call it chronic fatigue, but that's just a description. That's just saying you're tired all the time. Brain fog, what they'll do is do an MRI and they say, oh, we don't see any tumors or anything. Yeah, you were looking for a disease, but they're saying their brain's not functioning correctly. Weight gain, that's usually the number one thing that patients come in, especially women, is weight gain, because your hormones change after 40, and then it can lead to weight gain. And I can explain that a little bit further. Low libido. Now in women, low libido, anytime, let me tell you the difference between men and women. Women have to feel good in order for them to have a libido, for them to want to have sex. Men have sex so they can feel good. So women have to feel good first. Men, they want to have sex so they can feel good. So if a woman is tired, if she has brain fog, if she has weight gain, if she doesn't feel good about how she looks, or she doesn't feel good emotionally or even spiritually, then she's going to have a low libido usually, especially after 40. Now, before 40, because women they're more interested in procreation, they may have sex for that. But after 40, when all of that is over with, then they have to feel good. Now, men, their most of the time, their issue is, and now uh, even men over 40, men over 40, about 40% of them have erectile dysfunction. Now, one, it can be cardiovascular, no doubt about it, but also it can also be due to stress, because most men know about performance anxiety is that when you're stressed or anxious because maybe you had one situation where things didn't work correctly, you become anxious and you're worried that it's going to happen again. And that anxiety can actually be a self-fulfilling prophecy. You actually have to be at rest. The reason why you have morning erections is because your rest and digest system, your parasympathetic system, is dominant during that time. But once you wake up and you have the stress of life, and you come home and the kids are screaming, and all of that can cause erectile dysfunction in men. So I want to make sure I include men in this issue. And the reason why I talk about ED, because this is what I found. The only time men really actually seek healthcare is when things don't work down there. That's when men think it's an emergency. Now they can have chest pain, they can have all kinds of things wrong with them. And most of the time the women have to beg them to go to the doctor. When that happens, they're they're searching for themselves. So anyway, let's keep going. So mood swings, that usually happens after 40 because of hormone imbalance. And again, the labs are normal because they don't have a disease. They're not in the 2.5% on each end. They are somewhere outside of the norm. Maybe they're here. Maybe the norm is here. So they're out here. So they're not functioning like they did when they were in that midline section there, but they are just not functioning properly. They don't have a disease. And that causes a conflict between the patient and the doctor, because the doctor keeps saying nothing's wrong, and the patient keeps saying, but I don't feel well. And both of them are right. The doctor is saying you don't have a disease. You're not in that 2.5%. He's 100% correct. And you're 100% correct that you don't feel well because you are not functioning properly. So that causes this friction. And that's why both, doctors and patients are both, they're both frustrated. So the number one thing, I have this former life where I was an OBGYN, and then I have this kind of new life where I'm trying to, understand spirituality and understand meditation and how to find your purpose and all that. And so, but I don't think you can take that next step, if physically or hormonally you're out of balance. It just causes too many problems. When progesterone drops in women, they begin to gain weight because progesterone helps you to burn fat for energy. Progesterone also helps to control your mood. That's why during the second half of your cycle, if you don't have enough progesterone, you can have PMS. In perimenopause, because you don't ovulate as well because you're going into menopause, you have even worse PMS. And now when you are menopausal, your progesterone is totally gone because you don't ovulate, then you can have even more problems with hot flashes and weight gain and mood swings. Testosterone drops in men, primarily because of stress. When you're under stress, your body says, hey, you don't need to be going out chasing women and making babies. You're wiped out, you're stressed out. So we're going to cut down your libido. I can't tell you, there's several men who come in and think that their testosterone is the problem, and it's not. It's cortisol and it's stress. And once we can correct that, their testosterone goes up automatically. Cortisol rises with stress, but also when you're under stress long enough, cortisol can fall. And that can cause fatigue, because cortisol rises under stress because they think you need more energy to run or fight. Now that's fine if you're going to do an athletic event or whatever, but chronic stress causes cortisol to fall, so you have decreased energy. And also the fatigue causes the low libido and ED. So yeah, if you're tired, it takes some energy to have sex. So if you're tired, you're probably going to have low libido. So I've been talking about saliva testing. Saliva testing is how you figure all this out. So I have a video here just to show you how easy it is, because a lot of times we try to make things that are simple
I want to show you
difficult.
here.
Okay, here we go. Well, go ahead. Let's just show it, and then we talk about it. I want to show you how simple it is to understand what your hormones are. And actually, if you order a saliva test, and I'll show you that at the end, I'll give you a video review like this. So now you can run it, Rebel.